More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
Wrexham. Oh my God, Nicky Thomas! He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Foden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save. Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel.
What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Cardiff! Folks, good wicket kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals
Of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
And here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast for one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. In a week when Pennsylvania's ugliest creature, a depressed fictional pig named the Squonk, took centre stage at Squonkapalooza, a festival drawing in people across the United States to celebrate the mythical being and make it smile. Squonkapalooza organisers Lisa Russell and Joe Fogel described the squonk as saddest of folklore creatures who cries constantly because it's so ugly. It has loose-fitting skin and warts. Its closest relative is the boar or pig. Russell, who dresses up as the official squonk mascot, told the press it has two web feet only on the left side. The origin of the squonk, said to reside in the Keystone State's Hemlock Forest, dates back to 1910 with a book called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, and Pennsylvanians have adopted the beast as their own. It's not big and scary like Bigfoot or Mothman. They hear its story, feel sad, pity him, and they want to lift him up like they would their friends and neighbours, Fogel said. This is the third annual Squonkapalooza, which is held at the Bottleworks Ethnic Arts Centre in southwestern city of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and welcomes people of all ages who travel far and wide for the one-of-a-kind festivities. What's interesting is loose-fitting skin and two web feet can also describe these two. It's Jamie and Daz.
I thought you were going to say that could describe Johnstown and Wrexham then.
No, that's web fingers, that is. I think you'll find.
Well, what is it about Johnstown then? Because there's the same in Carmarthen, and I think there's probably one in the valleys, not far from. From
Must be
Cardiff,
something
so.
in the water. Must be something in the water. Gents, hello, welcome. How are you all? Feeling good? Feeling excited for the new season, Jamie? I mean, obviously the new season for you, Daz, has got another week to go. But me and you, Jamie, are properly crawling up the walls, ready for 14 hours time.
It was. I've never been so excited to watch a League One game as I was last week watching Luton play. Who was it? Luton and it was a crap game, whatever it was, but it was still exciting that it was back on. But yeah, that was good. And then I watched a bit of the Cardiff game. Again, unfortunately, that's League One as well, so that starts a week earlier than us.
And they won,
but they did win. And to be fair, they played pretty well. To be fair, so I think they're going to be up there this season. But yes, you're right. Buzzing. It seems. Sounds really stupid to say this, but it seems like it's gone really fast this summer, but it's also gone really slowly. So I'm buzzing to have the football back, the real football back, the Premier League crap in a week's time.
I love it that the League One's dead to you already. You've forgotten who's in it. You can't even remember who played the game you watched. I love it that it's dead to you.
I was that desperate last night. I was watching Accrington Stanley versus Oldham Athletic in the League Cup playoff, which was dreadful. So, yeah, I don't miss that bit because that's League Two. They're both League Two teams. I mean, if last night was then to go by, Oldham are not going to be a League Two team for very long because they were dreadful. They were really, really bad. Anyway, thank you, everybody who left comments on last week's pod and emails in particular. And we've had one particular email from David Collis, who sent an email while we were away saying, "Dear Eat More Chips, hope you're well. Love the pod and the flag." Thank you, David. Just emailing with a quick Wrexham Cymru Leagues question for the pod. Probably the lack of much football has driven me a bit mad. Well, we've just said we've got the same problem, and keen to hear your thoughts. The owners are branching out into the shares of other clubs like the Caxa. There are lots of examples of multiple clubs with one owner group, the City Group for one, and there's a few advantages to having such setups. I'm wondering, do you think there would be any merit in Rob and Ryan taking over a team in the Cymru leagues like Gresford or similar? It's a unique setup in Cymru, having Welsh teams in the English leagues, plus the Welsh system also. It means the teams would be very close geographically, but still in different competitions. So potentially for sharing resources is huge in a way that Man City and, say, Mumbai City, both of the City Group, can't share as much. If they make Gresford decent, then there's Euro Conference League football without much needing to be invested. TNS made a reported 5 to 6 million this year by getting in the Conference League. Not sure they made 5 to 6 million. I think it was more closer to a million, just about a million, I think. It would be interesting documentary content. Yes, it would. Absolutely. Could help the growth in the community. It could even be somewhere to loan young players where you could monitor them, possibly Cymru Prem somewhat at tier 5-6 level of the English system, but improving. Could tie in with their work with Gresford Miners project to promote that even. Plus, Cymru Prem are due to be on a Friday night league next year, so they wouldn't get fixture classes with Wrexham games. What do you reckon? Anyway, keep up the good work. Diolch yn fawr iawn. David, a South Walian Wrexham fan. Thank you for your email, David. Interesting one, this one, Daz. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think Cardiff and Swansea have tried this in the past, and the FAW said, no, you don't.
Yeah, I think, it's all about registration as well, isn't it? Between different, I think Cymru, the Welsh Cymru League setup is unique in the sense that its biggest players aren't even in it. And so you've got this unique situation where Wrexham and Cardiff and Swansea and Newport are, registered as actually English clubs. They're members of the FA rather than sort of singularly the FAW. So it's unique in that sense, because if you're talking about Mumbai and Manchester or whatever, that they're in different leagues, different, it's just a bit more confusing and a bit complicated. So I mean, I think Cardiff tried it. Was it sort of like Inter Cardiff or something like that? They took over, I think, something back in the day. So Aberystwyth used to play them and stuff like that. I don't think it was successful anyway. I think it's a bit of a weird one. Also, the level that what we're talking about here is just that it's such a leap. You're better off really investing in your reserve team or the under-21s or the academy in that sense. And obviously, when you've got players getting back from fitness, that's where you play them. I don't think you need to be sort of playing in the Cymru leagues and stuff like that. But who would you buy? Because Gresford are not in it, so it would take a long journey to get up into that top echelons. And the only team nearby would be TNS, and TNS are not for sale. They're the only successful team that the league's got. So their management structure probably not that interested in selling. So by all means, put in a bid for Aberystwyth, and we can become, the green and blacks and reds of West Wales. If Rob and Ryan want a holiday destination, there's a couple of caravans up the coast in Clarach. Why don't you come along and have a spend your summers, with us? But I just don't think it works, and I think those examples have proven it anyway.
And I think if you like to live on the edge, you could buy Real FC, that, and then you include stab jacket included, which would be perfect. Yeah, I mean it's a great idea, David. I just don't think logistically, for the money, and also you got to remember, as we've said before, there isn't a huge amount of money in the JD Cymru Premier, so you would have to write it off. Any money you would put in there would be obviously you could spend comparatively a little and get a lot of gain within the club, as in improving facilities and infrastructure. And obviously that would then draw players to it because it would be part of the group. But you'd have to write off that money because you're never going to make it back. I mean, unless even TNS, as we say, they managed to get into Europe, and by getting into Europe, which they've not managed to do this year, they did it last year, managed to get into the actual competition proper. That made them money. But then you have to spend that money because you have to travel to far-flung places, and even though the FAW do give a little bit of money, to the club to help with things like travel and accommodation, it doesn't cover it. So you're spending some of that money straight away just to get to these games, which, in TNS's case, they lost. So to be competitive, you're going to have to spend money and not make a huge amount of it.
Yeah,
So.
no, the £37 a day food allowance ain't just going to get it. You know what I mean? It's
No,
just not. It's just not
definitely
going to be enough.
Definitely not. Definitely. So this week, when we were amazed last week at the 6 signings that we had, and we thought, oh, well, that's incredible. And then we thought, can we get some more? Yes, we can, because this week we've had another 2 signings. First of all, out the door was Jake Bickerstaff, on loan to Cheltenham Town until May 2026. He was on loan at Altrincham last season. It's interesting that he's on loan at Cheltenham Town until May 2026, where his contract expires. So why do you think Wrexham have just said, well, just buy him?
I can only assume it's a wages thing. That would suggest to me that Wrexham are still covering part of his wages. I'm guessing that they didn't have the money to, or didn't want to spend the money to actually buy him. And I think you've got to be brutally honest. I don't envisage a route into the Wrexham's first team for Bickerstaff, so I can't see him staying beyond the end of this contract, which, like you say, expires at the end of this loan. So for me, the only plausible reason I can think of why it's a loan, not just a we've let him go by mutual consent, is he must be, they must not be willing to pay him as much as he's on at Wrexham. Therefore, they're having to cover some of the costs for this last 12 months.
I mean, do you think January, possibly, maybe if in January he's doing well at Cheltenham Town, they'll try and do a deal with Cheltenham and say, look, if you want to buy him, at least get something for him.
I don't think they'll be looking to try and get a fee for him, not unless he has some sort of a blistering first 6 months of the season. But even if that was the case, with only 6 months left on a deal, they're not going to pay huge amounts of money for him. I think from Wrexham's point of view, this is just a case of seeing, running down his contract until it expires. I would imagine from a getting him off the books point of view, he's the least of the problems at the minute. I think there's far bigger earners that they need to be trying to do something with than Bickerstaff.
And then obviously in through the door, pictured here, 32-year-old centre-back Connor Cody from Leicester City. He's with us until the 2026-27 season, with the option of another year and for an undisclosed fee. He's made 43 appearances for Leicester in all competitions, and he's an ex-England international with 10 caps. He was in the World Cup 2022 squad recently. Also, of course, the big name for Cymru fans is 32-year-old striker Kiefer Moore from Sheffield United, here until the 27-28 for an undisclosed fee. 200 appearances in the Championship in total for 3 clubs, plus 2 promotions with 2 of those clubs, and 49 caps for Cymru with 14 goals. Daz, Wrexham trying desperately to buy the entire Cymru squad, if you believe all the rumours that are going on. I mean, obviously Danny Ward now and Kiefer Moore, and there are rumours of Nathan Broadhead, although today that seems to have been tampered a little bit with the Ipswich manager coming out and saying, well, he's not going. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But we won't talk about Nathan until that's definitely signed on the dotted line if it comes. But what are your thoughts on these 2 signings? Because you spoke last week about age and bringing the age down. These are 2 32-year-olds. So experience, yes. But is that what Wrexham need right now?
Well, I also added that you need to shore up your defence, and that's what Connor Cody's going to give you. I mean, talk about somebody who's got pedigree, who had, I thought, a decent season still with Leicester. I mean, he was a stalwart for Wolves for many. I mean, he started off at Liverpool. Is a boyhood club. He was there for like 9 or 10 years, but he was always a reserve. He was always in the reserve squad. He got a couple of call-ups. I do think I remember seeing him play, but not, it wasn't very often. So he had to move away, which is unfortunate. But yeah, but he's had a brilliant career, but within that career, he's had relegations, admittedly, but he's also had promotions, and that's one of the things that I can see. Your management doing here is bringing in people with that level of experience, of lived experience, of running in titles, whether it's out and out winners, like you might have done with Leicester 2 years ago, or with Wolves, whatever. But or playoffs, they're all very different scenarios. So having players who have been there, done it, seen it through, is going to be really helpful. But shoring up that defence was very much, in my mind, one of the weakest parts. You strengthened everywhere else, and so by improving that, and I think you've just got somebody who's quality. I mean, the fact that he was in the last World Cup squad for England just shows you that he can't have gone off the boil, that quick. So he's quality, he's class, but age, I get. I'm sure some people will disagree, and we know what Kiefer can do. He's a very particular type of player. He's a particular style, shall we say? Is our man, and he. I mean, he hasn't ever quite made the Premier League sort of status his own. Yes, he's played in the Premier. He's been Bournemouth, I think, and I just think he is probably a championship player. And I know he raises his game for Cymru, and he's scored some key goals. And we're very grateful to have him play for Cymru, considering he could have played for England, Italy, China. I think he has Chinese heritage as well. So,
Right.
so Kiefer Roberto Francisco Moore. I thought I might have gone to Italy, but no, So we're very grateful that he was up for his grandparents' lineage being Welsh, meaning he would, because he has saved us in many, many big tight scrapes. He's come up with some big goals. Again, not prolific. So is he? Is he the kind of guy that you want? I mean, is he just an Ollie Palmer 2.0, or in fact, Fletcher 2.0? Really, big man up front with a good finish, but there's something physical about him. I think he'll get you goals when you need to send the big man on and terrorize the defenses, crosses. If you've got some really good wingers crossing in, somebody like Kiefer Moore on the end of it is going to be great. So I think he'll get you goals at key moments. I don't think he's going to be the out and out starter like a Sam Smith appears to be. So I just think he's a great option, but he is a championship player. So I think, again, experience at that level, no doubt will be very useful. But very exciting to have some Welsh associated or Welsh players in the squad, really. So being the Welsh team and stuff, so it's good. I'm quite excited.
Jamie, we were crying out for a centre-back with all the kind of midfielders and forwards that were coming in. What are your thoughts first on Connor Cody? And then we'll talk about Kiefer Moore after
that. Great signing. I think we were all universally agreed that it was the one area that we probably did need to strengthen, that centre-back position. Although we've got Owen O'Connell and Dan Scarr, who are both good players, I think quite sort of fairly, there's still a sort of question mark over whether that's enough for a championship season. I think we probably all felt we needed some quality experience in there, and that's exactly what he's brought in. Everything you guys have already said about his pedigree and his experience. A Premier League standard player, an international standard player. Somebody that whenever I've watched him play, I've always thought he's a very good player. And I think he's going to bring off the pitch as well. He like I say, his knowledge, his experience, his organisational skills. I mean, the interview he did for the club when he signed, I know a few people commented on it, but I was ready to put war paint on my face and go and run through walls. I was after that. He speaks very, very well, and you think to yourself, well, if he can come across like that in an interview, to a media interview, imagine what that kind of must be to be around day in, day out, training on the training pitch, on the pitch, when times get a bit tough, if you need somebody to drag the rest of the team on. I think that's what he's brought in there. So
captain, then, do you think captain material?
Yeah, absolutely. I anticipate. I mean, trying to predict the starting 11 for the Southampton game, you've got more chance of platting Fog.
Don't,
to be
don't
honest,
say that because I'm going to ask you a bit later. So keep that
but,
keep that in reserve. The pair of you, all right? Keep that in
I'll,
reserve.
okay, but I'll give you a spoiler. I think McLean will start that game. As much as I don't think he's necessarily going to stay in that left wing back position for the season, I think he will start him in the Southampton game. And with that in mind, he is the club captain, and therefore, if he is on the pitch, I would expect him to wear the armband. But if he isn't on the pitch or he doesn't get picked to start and Connor Cody is in, then yes, I would say that's where the armband goes, to be honest with you, because he is just a natural leader, isn't he? He's a natural captain.
And Kiefer Moore, everybody's saying the most Parky signing you will ever have. I mean, big, tall guy in the middle, ready for crosses from both sides to head it in. I mean, is that how you see it?
You've literally just stole the words out of my mouth. The most Parky of Parky signings. Ollie Palmer 2.0 is another good way of putting it. He's an Ollie Palmer upgrade. Assuming Parky's not going to change the way he plays, which I whilst he may tweak it slightly, I don't think he's going to change the fundamentals. A big part of the way he plays the game is with a big man as a focal point, and you're not going to get many bigger than this. I agree with what Dad says. I think he probably isn't a Premiership level player. He's probably never quite hit those heights, but I think he is a staple Championship player. And I sort of commented when we signed him, I feel he will get double digits for us. I do. I think he'll score a good number of goals. The question mark is who the hell is playing? Where does he fit in? Is he a starter? Is he an off the bench impact player? Is it a mixture of both? Is Parky thinking along the lines of, do you know what, I'm going to kind of have two different approaches this season, an away an away squad and a home squad, whereby you're maybe a little bit more attacking minded if you're at home, and away from home a bit more defensive and a bit more route one. Hence, you'd expect to see Keith Moore. God only knows. We'll see how it all unravels. But from the point of view of what we know about Parky and the way he plays over the last 4 years, you couldn't get a more Parky signing.
I mean, you just talked about it just then about where does he fit in, and more importantly, how does the squad now build? Because with these two signings, that's 8 signings Wrexham have made within the window, spent reportedly between 12 and 15 million, which is incredible considering that Fulham and Aston Villa in the Premiership haven't spent a penny. So that's, if you want to get a reality check, that's it there. I mean, looking at the squad numbers, I think we're now about 7 too many. We're 7 heavy. Who's in danger, would you say? Who's in danger right now of basically missing out on a squad place completely?
I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? I mean, with the additions that have come in now, you've got to be saying. I mean, Mendy surely struggles to get Mendy struggles to get a place. I think Andy Cannon probably won't get a squad place to start with, because I think he's obviously still recovering from injury.
That's 2.
He's another one. I think who else have we got? We've got I think George Evans is a massive question mark over, to be honest with you.
3.
Ravan is another one that I think, whilst I'm not saying that he hasn't got the ability to play in the Championship, he's not shown it to us yet. So for me, maybe a loan.
That's 4.
I think Palmer, I can't see how he fits into a 25-man squad in the Championship. Farl is another one. I think Farl's got to go out on loan. You'd have to say, even with or without Nathan Broder coming in, you'd have to say Marriott's potentially at risk. So he could be another one.
7. So there's your 7 if you wanted it. I mean, would you might include Tom O'Connor, for example? Would you keep him in there?
I think he'll keep all the Tom O'Connor, because I think he has proved, doesn't he, in recent years, that when he's on it, he is a very, very good footballer, and he's very versatile. He can play in a couple of different positions, but then you could argue George Evans can do that as well. as exciting as it is to see all these new signings coming in, and like I say, if the rumours are to be believed, it's not finished yet. Then it is exciting, but it's also fascinating to see what we do with outgoings, because we've had Will Boyle, but Luke Bolton and Jake Bickerstaff are the three that have gone, other than the ones that left when with the retain list was released. You've got to be looking at. I mean, on Mullin, obviously, he's gone out on loan. There's got probably some serious question marks over some pretty headline names that 12 months ago would have been staples in this squad, and not anymore. I think what you do have to say is, I think that when Rob said that he doesn't know what the word consolidation means, I think given the transfer activity that we've done, I think he means it. I genuinely think they're going to have a go at it. I'm not saying I'm buying into that, but that's what it feels like, because you look at the caliber of these signings, and if they do pull off I mean, Nathan Broadhead is the big one. The guy from Ajax, that is another 3 or 4 million quid that doesn't seem to be going away. Rumours today that we're the front runners to get Lewis Kumas on loan for the season from Liverpool.
That would be a signing, wouldn't it? Getting Lewis Kumas.
Where the hell all these fit in, I don't know.
I was going to say, where will you fit in? Because that's another winger. That's and he's a talent, absolutely. And they really rate him at Liverpool to the point where they won't let him go. So that's why he's out on loan. But he's got more Welsh caps than he's got Liverpool appearances.
That's the thing, isn't it? With him, you would assume, or you'd be fair to assume, I think, that if Liverpool were going to let him go out on loan, there's going to be an expectation that he's going to play. So if you're bringing him on a season long loan, there's a starter straight away. So you're already sort of scratching your head about who else plays. So,
but then also I heard that Birmingham were interested in him as well, which that would be quite the race between the two teams. And I think to get that.
Well, hopefully, if Birmingham are interested in him, just send him the link to the documentary, Birmingham documentary. Let him watch that. And then I'm pretty sure he won't want to go there.
I've not watched it. Is it really bad?
Mate, and I'm not just saying this because obviously Wrexham have got a documentary which is very good. I feel a little bit for the Birmingham fans, because they are a big club. They are got a lot of history, but it's all about Tom Brady. And I'm sorry, I actually got a lot of respect for the guy as a sportsman, and what he's achieved is unbelievable. But after watching that, he is an absolute helmet. I was sat watching it with the missus, and we both said the same thing within literally the first sort of episode. It's very evident that for him, it's about him, and it's about everything's very directed. In the sense of, like there's a little shot in the car where they're arriving at the pub, and they're saying, that him and that Wagner fella are talking about, right, we're going to stop here. We're literally going to go in for 15 minutes and just shake a few hands. And it felt very orchestrated and very staged, and just the opposite to what we've come to get from Rob and Ryan. Yeah, the guy just comes across an absolute melt. I mean, with Wayne Rooney was in it briefly. Obviously, he was the manager. That was covered in it. And the way he kind of spoke about him was pretty eye opening. Questioning his work ethic and stuff. So, yeah, it's worth a watch. It's interesting to watch, but the guy's a helmet.
I mean, is that something the James family would think about watching, Des?
Well, I've watched. I'll confess, I do like American football. So I did watch the Tom Brady documentary. Man in the Arena, terrible title, just going to say, but he likes the sound of his own voice, because there's 10 episodes about one guy. Now I know he had one hell of a career, and he's won the Super Bowl more times than anybody else. I mean, anywhere close to him, really. So he is arguably the GOAT in that sport. What he knows about football, proper football, is unclear at this time. Obviously, he knows how to put a documentary together. He knows how to be a sportsman. So I'm intrigued, but I don't know if I care enough about the backstory to want to watch their documentary. I don't know. Unlikely, shall we say?
Wayne Rooney, bad work ethic, but great taste in grannies. Anyway.
Apparently. Have we checked this through with the lawyers?
Yeah, allegedly.
Saturday saw Wrexham's last pre-season great game where they travelled off to the Netherlands to play FC Groningen in 2 games. There was a behind-closed-doors game first. The lineup for that one was Ward in goal, a back 3 of O'Connell, Cody and Brunt, Longman and McLean on the wings, Evans, Ashfield, Lee and Palmer and Smith up front. Subs was Edwards for Evans, Kelly for Ashfield, Alex Moore for Lee and Owen for Palmer and Fowle for Smith. Wrexham lost 1-0 late game, but looking at the review, Wrexham played very, very well. However, the game we were subjected to on television was the game in front of the crowd, not Wrexham crowd, but an FC Groningen crowd only. Live game was with Okonkwo in goal, Cloweth, Scar and O'Connor at the back, Barnett and Kakache on the wings, Dobson, James and O'Brien in the middle, Windass and Hardy up front with one sub, James, who came on for O'Connor. Wrexham lost that game 3-1. The Wrexham goal was by Josh Windass and a great over-the-shoulder volley for that. Not sure how much you two saw. I can't imagine Daz saw any of it, and I think you saw some of it, Jamie. Undercooked, I think, is the word that I would use in this one. I mean, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I watched the game. I owe the club an apology, I guess, because I made a joke about the fact that they, when they said they were going to stream
Yes.
it, I made a joke about the fact they would obviously charge for it, but they didn't.
Well, you've got to get
as long
something
as
for
you
your membership, haven't you? After what we were saying last week about bad value for money, so yeah.
Yeah, so that was good that you got to watch it. Yeah, Undercooked, I think is a good way of putting it. I think it wasn't great, was it? It wasn't great. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to put some sort of sense behind it. Again, some of the kind of fallout online. It's one of the things.
This is 11 players who've never played before together.
Yeah.
That was the first time they played together. So, what do you expect?
This is one of the things that I'm dreading about this season, because I, like you and probably like a lot of other people, I'm anticipating periods of this season where we're going to lose games. This is not going to. I've said it before. I wouldn't bet against this kind of Wrexham regime doing anything. So, if in 8 months' time we're having a conversation about being in the bloody playoffs or going for promotion again, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Do I expect that? Absolutely not. What I expect this season is a season of what I would call normality, in the sense of we are going to lose more games this season. We are going to come up against teams who are going to dominate us and are going to beat us comfortably this season. That's what I'm expecting.
Yep.
And I think the fallout from this, again, this is the one thing I'm dreading about this season, is to see what happens if we lose like 3 or 4 games on the trot. But yeah, you're absolutely right. One thing that I think we've got to remember as we go into this season is, again, all these new signings is exciting, but it's going to take time for all this to gel together and to fit into place. And sadly, or unfortunately, that's going to mean probably as we go into the season, there's going to probably be the first 3, 4, 5 games where that there's going to be an element of that. I think if you try and sort of pick out positives from this game, I think you'd probably have to pick out the 3 sort of significant new signings in Lewis O'Brien, Kakache and Windass. I thought Hardy was okay. He makes some good runs. It'd be fascinating to kind of see how much game time he gets this season, because obviously with our striking options currently, and then if we add to it, it's hard to see, or it's hard to work out exactly, who's going to be the kind of main striking duo. But he was generally quiet, but he does make some good runs, which is interesting. But the other 3 I thought were good, were better. I think Lewis O'Brien was the standout for me. I think he gave us a little cameo of what we've heard about him, which is he is a very, very good footballer, and if he can get some form going, he could dominate games, which is something that we've massively missed certainly last season, somebody in the centre of midfield that can literally grab the game by the nuts and dictate it. And I think he's very capable of doing that. Kakachi, again, glimpses. I think there were glimpses from him. I think again, once he's up to full speed, he looks very capable for going forward and going back, which is exactly what you need from a wing back. And then Josh Windass, I think maybe fitness got him as the game panned out, and he started to tail off, as they all did, because it's probably the first time that they'd all done in 90 minutes. So he faded out of the game as it went on, but he did some good things, and like you say, that goal just showed us what he is capable of. So that was the positives. I think without dwelling on it too much from a negative point of view, obviously it was a poor result. I think defensively it was a little bit of a concern again. Like it was.
Leaky. I mean, the first goal was unfortunate because it was a deflection. I mean, do you think Okonkwo was to blame for any of those goals? Because some people online were saying Arthur doesn't look too particularly confident around the ball at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, whilst you have to take pre-season games with a massive pinch of salt, he has made a couple of sort of high-level mistakes in pre-season now. Excuse me. I still think he'll start as number one. I think it would be very unfair and probably not do him much good long term if you said, "I'm going to put."
Be a massive confidence hit, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If you replace him, I get that. Yeah.
I think we probably all agree that Arthur isn't by any stretch isn't a complete goalkeeper. There are elements of his game that vastly need improving. But we're probably also in agreement as well that on his day, he is a fantastic goalkeeper and we're lucky to have him. So I can't see how he doesn't start the season as number one. But yeah, question marks. I think it was just the defense, as a defensive unit. Again, like I said, in that Wellington game, we were iffy. And again, in this game, we looked a bit shaky at the back. So I obviously, when we talk about what predicted starting 11 for Southampton, what I expect to be our back three, it's important that they hit the ground running and can gel quite quickly, I think. It wasn't a great game. Fitness, I think they've all come out of it without any issues. Obviously, in the morning game that we didn't see, getting minutes in the legs of the likes of Sam Smith, who's not had anything in pre-season, was a positive. So Parky's the one that knows how he's feeling going into the start of the season. I think if he was being brutally honest, I would say he probably feels that they're a couple of games short. I think he would have liked to have got the players in sooner and had more game time with them. But it is what it is. But yeah, look, it's done now. It's in the books. It doesn't matter on Saturday.
I mean, Daz, that's one thing I was going to say. A question I was going to ask you. I mean, a lot of these new players are coming in very, very late. We had the four of them in last week. Kiefer Moore and Connor Cody in with literally just Connor Cody came in with 24 hours notice before he played the Groningen game. Kiefer Moore's coming this week, so he's going to have maybe 72 hours with the squad, maybe a little bit longer before he may play against Southampton. I mean, is it a bit too quick? Would Wrexham have benefited from having these players earlier, or is that just not possible because of the way the transfer market happens?
It's just exactly that. It's exactly how every team fears losing their players at the last minute as well. So you think you're planning for a structure, a team, a layout, a formation that you want to sort of set out for your first few games, and then your chairman says, "I've had an offer and I think it's a good one, so we're going to sell." You hear stories of this all the time. So I think having the transfer window go right up to first fixtures is just a manager's nightmare, absolute manager's nightmare. And I think for some of these players now, I mean, certainly Kiefer, and I would be amazed if, as much as Connor Cody's got amazing pedigree, would you risk your first game? Probably not. Against one of the favourites to win the league, what is it going to show? What's it going to prove? Or do you think, if we're going to if we're at risk of losing it anyway, then what difference is it? Let's get a competitive game against a formation that I think might work. So it's really hard to predict. I mean, as I said, there's no form for this, but it's got to be a manager's nightmare with so many, hours up until the deadline, and then to lose your players. Or you could still add to it. I mean, like we said, if Nathan joins, then then you got another option. But it's it's a really weird couple of weeks, isn't it?
Very, very odd. I'm not sure if you managed to see any of the games or the goals at all, Daz. Nope.
Nope. Sorry, I haven't.
No, it's fine. I mean, great goal though, Jamie, by Joshua Windass. I mean, over the shoulder volley. As a although we hate it, that kind of long punt football, as a long punt football, straight to the target man, bang straight in. Can't fault it. Direct route.
It's in part. It's been a big part of our success over the last few years. I have been very open and honest, and I've said I don't like the way we play a lot of the time. For my personal taste and what I like to watch from a football game, it's a lot of the time the football we play. Certainly in the last season and the season before, it was a little bit different in the National League and League Two to an extent. It was sort of half and half, but last year very much it was. But that's Parky's job is to win football matches, and to basically his job has been to get his promotion, and the man has got us back to back promotions. So I don't give a monkey's chuff if if he sends the players out bare-arsed and asks them to play whatever way he wants. I don't care. So if we're going to carry on doing a lot of long balls and things, then so be it. If you're going to play like that, what you need a mountain of a target man, and obviously Ollie Palmer has offered us that in the lower leagues. He did that at the first half of last season. I think you have to be fair and call that out and say he did play a significant part in the first half of last season. However, you can't just be up there as a target. If you're up there as a striker, you have to contribute goals, and he didn't contribute goals. So the question is if that's what we're going to do with Kiefer Moore, then the challenge is there for him to be that target and to bring others into the game, get hold of the ball, bring it down and bring others into the game, but also to score goals. That's what he's going to be judged on. Route one, but you're right. Windass's goal was technically was a brilliant goal. Not just was a little cameo of what he's capable of. We've heard a lot and we've seen clips of what he can do. That was a real life example of exactly what he can do. It was brilliant technique. It's very hard to do that, is to hit it on the volley over your shoulder like that. It's a good goal.
Now in the More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy have had their fixtures for the Football League Youth Alliance Northwest Conference division. They open this year's league with a game versus Stockport Youth away on the 9th of August. Then they're at home to Port Vale Youth on the 12th of August, away at Notts County Youth on the 16th of August, away at Mansfield Youth on the 23rd of August, and away at Rotherham Youth on the 30th of August. In between that, on the 26th of August, they play in the Under-18s Professional Development League Cup against Cardiff City Under-18s at home. Gennaro Adran fixtures were released today, which is Wednesday, and Wrexham women will start their campaign versus Britain Ferry Llansamel on Sunday the 7th of September, kick-off at 2 p.m. The week after, they play Barry Town United at home on Sunday the 14th of September, and that is being televised live by S. Pedbrec, so kick-off will be 5:15 p.m. BST. Important game, Wrexham versus Cardiff City at home will be on Sunday the 12th of October at 2 o'clock. The Phase 1 last game will be a reverse of the open day fixture, which is Wrexham versus Britain Ferry Llansamel on Sunday the 20th of January, kick-off at 5:15 GMT. And in between that, the Adran Trophy Round 1 will be on Sunday 9th of November. So that's after the group stages are finished. The top 8 in the Adran Premier all go in against the winners of the playoff divisions, and then it becomes a straight knockout. Daz, Interesting then. Britain Ferry Llansamble away. What kind? I mean, obviously, Britain Ferry surprised many of us last season by doing incredibly well for for a newly promoted team. Are you expecting the same kind of result this year?
What, your new arch rivals of the last couple of years?
Yes,
It's like
yes.
if you want to read some of the press, it's like it's like you've been at it for like
Absolutely. Well,
decades.
read social media as well, because there was a lot of bad blood swimming between the two teams last season. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, obviously, you know me, I'm really on social media, but I'm in terms of performances, yeah, they absolutely did surprise most people. They had that really strong first half of the season. They solidified their place in the division, and then and I think Wrexham equally sort of underachieved. New signings didn't really make the impact until sort of much later on, and obviously we've documented quite clearly that their run of form to get just to make the split was impeccably timed. But I think this will be quite a close game. I mean, I've not heard or seen too many transfer news yet, but that's because we've still got a month yet before this first fixture. So there's a lot can happen, but and then Cardiff defending their title as well away to New Saints. That's not an easy start for them. So
that's a big game.
Be...
I mean that also is Espedwarec, and you can see why Espedwarec have decided to show that one, because that's quite a biggie.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the challenge of being the holders, and of course they're going for a fourth in a row. We'll see. And then, of course, the mighty Aberystwyth will have to wait until October before you welcome the Wrexham team to Park Avenue. So
Ponty away on the first day of the season. Do you think that's a good chance to dust out, get rid of all the blues of the last season and actually try and get a decent result?
It's probably... if you're going to have an away game as your first game of the season after the season Aberystwyth has had, the new team in the division is probably your best shot, but underestimate them at your peril. I think it's it'll be say everybody will be a bit rusty for lack of game time. So it's as good a time as any to play them. I mean, let's say last year we it was Cardiff, I think, first game of the season, or certainly early on, and they held them to a draw because everybody was still that little bit rusty. So you can never be sure about what the teams are going to turn up until a game or two in, and then you start getting a bit of a pattern and a bit of a form to sort of look at. But exciting times for all the teams involved, and let's see if Wrexham can have a better season than they did last year.
I mean, Jamie, this is very much finger in the air, isn't it? Because we haven't. I mean, personally, I haven't got a clue what kind of team are going to turn out versus Britain Ferry. And Britain Ferry are not a pushover, to say the least. They are a strong side. Again, new manager, so they've got a new manager, the same as Wrexham have.
A lot of new managers this season as well.
There are, yeah. There's a big turnover of managers, so that could make things more interesting. I mean, with it being first game of the season, what is the best thing? I mean, apart from obviously the win, which would be great, but what do we want to see? Is it again my classic adage? Is it the performance and not the result is the important bit in the first game of the season?
I would say result. I mean, the results important because of the way this league works and the 8 teams in the league. I don't think you can afford the luxury of let's wait 4 or 5 games, 6 games, and hope the performances improves. Last season was a good example of that. The first half of the season was dire, and they struggled and only just by the skin of the teeth got into the top 4 in the split. So I don't think you've got, unlike the men's team, I think the men's team potentially have got the luxury of, not luxury, but they've got the kind of safety net of being able to have 5-6 games where they may be, not winning every game to bed in a little bit. I'm not sure that the ladies have that because of the nature of this league. At this stage, you've just said it yourself. I mean, we haven't got a clue. We haven't got a clue on what the squad looks like. at this rate, the girl that serves the chips at the Everland's going to be playing because we've no idea, have we? We literally
No.
we've got one player
No.
that's under contract, which I'm guessing is Lily Jones.
There were some pictures on social media this week where the team were together and training, and obviously Jenny Sugarman has been in the press, sort of saying about what she was hoping for and everything. So I think there are positive moves there, and I would expect in the next week or so a start to get information with regards to who is actually signed up. Because again, I would imagine Jenny is trying desperately to do business with regards to keeping players who are in, because she doesn't know any of the players. This is the thing, isn't it? She doesn't know any of the players apart from
I dare say that was possibly one of the reasons why the club kind of held off doing anything with contracts until they brought in the new manager, because like you've just said, she doesn't know any of the players, so she's going to need a small amount of time with them to try and make form her own opinions, because it's pointless. The club, even though they're only sort of semi-professional, it's still an investment, it's still a commitment. So it makes sense that she's given the opportunity to assess what she's got before deciding on who gets offered contracts. That being said, let's also be realistic, and she's not got the luxury of being able to say, oh, okay, I don't want those 6. I'll just go out and get another 6, because, as we well know, that it's difficult getting players in. My gut feeling is I anticipate it being a very, very similar squad to what we had last season. I mean, obviously Brooke Cairns has already gone, hasn't she? But that aside, I'm not aware of any others that have made announcements that they've signed for or are going to be playing for somebody else. So my gut feeling is that the crux of the squad will be the same as it was last year, hopefully with a couple of quality additions that she can bring in, maybe using some of her contacts and bring them in, even if only on loan. But yeah, until we've got some sort of a clue on what the squad is and what the playing staff looks like and what the personnel looks like, trying to predict how they're going to play. I mean, this, like you say, new manager will probably have a completely different style of play. So for me, as much as performance is important, I don't think they've got the luxury. So I think it's really crucial that they get try and get a good result straight from the off.
But like you said, new manager, but also a new manager for Britain Ferry. There's a new manager for Swansea. Aberystwyth don't even have a manager. I think Pontypridd have a new manager. I mean,
TNS have a new manager.
I think Cardiff are pretty much the only one.
Ian Derbyshire is pretty much he's pretty much the only. Maybe now, Barry Town. I can't remember Barry Town's.
Admittedly, if you have gone 3 seasons in a row winning the league and you're going for and a treble was in amongst those seasons as well, he's got form. Now I'm amazed they managed to keep hold of him. With that kind of track record, you might have thought he'd been touted somewhere else, but you got to respect the commitment if that's what it is, or whether or not, I'm just surprised. What is it that it means he hasn't had a better offer? But lucky for Cardiff, and that's going to really, I think that'll make a huge difference for Cardiff this year. I think they'll have a far more solid start because of it.
I mean, the friendly for Wrexham versus Sporting Jacks, which was supposed to be 10th of August, so this weekend, has been called off. Apparently, according to the social media, it says it's been postponed due to an overwhelming number of injuries and lack of player availability. What do you read into that one, Jamie? Is that just press just basically saying, look, we need to call it off, let's just pull an excuse, or do you think there are some concerns with injuries and player availability?
You can only take the information that we've been given, can't you, and assume that it's legit. Obviously we can be a cynical bunch generally and always assume that there's a hidden agenda. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more to it than what's being put in that statement, but you just got to take it as what's
injuries to which side.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is part of a series of games for Sporting Jacks. So it's not if it's them, it would affect the other games, and none of the other games have been cancelled. It's only the Wrexham game that's been cancelled. Yeah. I know.
Doesn't bode well. Let's put it that way.
No, absolutely not. I mean, as I say, we'll wait to hear over the next few weeks, and hopefully we'll get some more answers. The Football Association of Wales has confirmed today that a comprehensive analysis and review of the Adran Premier is underway. as the association works towards the first ever bespoke strategy for the top flight of women's football in Wales. Positively transforming and elevating the domestic game forms part of the FAW's commitment to ensuring a legacy following the historic summer in which Cymru women's national team made their major international tournament debut at UEFA Euro 2025, said the FAW website. Industry-leading consultancy agency Portus has been appointed to lead the review process with focus on providing insight into the overall league quality of the Adran Premier, community and fan engagement of the current commercial landscape that the league sits within. The review will utilise a combination of quantitative and qualitative research methods, drawing on data analysis, stakeholder interviews, surveys, case studies, and lots of other management nonsense that you would normally hear in any kind of press like this. The analysis recommendations delivered by Portus will form the basis of an athlete-centred high-performance strategy for the Adran Premier, presented by the FAW in the spring of 2026. Daz, we've said that the women's game in Cymru needs to be reviewed and looked at. Is this the right way to do it? Get a consultancy firm, pay them a lot of money, they come up with a report, and then you act on the report? Or should it be done more, as in consulting directly with the FAW to grassroots level of women's and girls teams and getting their view? I mean, what's your take on this? Is this a box-ticking exercise, or will it do any good?
Right. Hang on. Right, there's a lot of questions in there. So the first thing I would say is this has to happen. Some version of this has to happen. We've said that.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
So that's fine. I'm always dubious about paying the money to somebody else when maybe the people who should know the answers to these things are the people directly involved. But sometimes that independence, the autonomy to be able to do it and be very pragmatic and a bit more calculated and hopefully a bit more honest with the outcomes means that an independent company or a person is often the only way to do that, but it does cost. So if we're going to be spending the money, then we've got to get this right, and we've got to make sure that we're asking the right questions. Now, when whoever's carrying out this investigation, this process, then will need to ask the grassroots as much as not just the top 8 teams or the next division down. It does need to be comprehensive.
Absolutely.
But we all know as well, though, that partisan regionality, all of that thing then starts getting in the way of but you're talking to them, and then you can go from one town to the next and they have a completely different viewpoint on what the sport means to them. The resources available in South Wales or the just public transport or something like that, is different to North and South compared to West and Central. So everything about getting to games, getting people interested, getting the access to facilities, good coaches. We're just talking about the fact that these Welsh sides can't even keep hold of their coaches for their first teams, let alone grassroots teams. So there's so many elements to this that's complex that it may need somebody with some experience of this kind of investigative sort of analysis to do it justice. But if then it comes back and the outcome is, well, we all knew that was the case, but we can't afford it, then what's the point? I do think there has to be some sort of commitment to the outcome, as unpleasant as it may end up sounding or reading or turning up. The truth that the system's flawed, we know that. So I think any kind of change is going to be better, I would imagine, but I think there are going to be winners and losers in this, and so somehow having that independence at least allows the argument of favoritism or backing the big teams or the usual suspects, hopefully, if it's done well and done properly, can be removed. But long overdue. I mean, the fact that it's the first of its kind that that we've done as an FAW for the women's game is telling enough, isn't it?
Just want to put it out there, though. They're saying it's the first of its kind. Yeah, my wife was involved in the initial strategy remake for the Adran Leagues 5 years ago. They didn't trumpet that. So just to say it's a good press story.
But
I had a conversation with my wife about it, and her and a few other colleagues in the FAW helped draw up the Adran Leagues and form it. And obviously, it wasn't a full top to bottom, so that kind of strategy it is unusual, but it's not the complete first of its kind. There have been strategies before.
Yes,
Is
no,
the-
but I agree. I think this is the most comprehensive, but at the risk of upsetting people involved in the process, maybe because it only involved those few, the top five or whatever divisions, maybe that's why it only worked to a point, and it does need the full comprehensive. But I mean, the detail and the nuanced, minutia in that detail is. I mean, I don't know what time limit they want to put on
Well,
it.
this is what I was going to say. Spring 2026. Is that enough time? That's only
No,
what, 7 months?
no. I mean, no. That feels horribly rushed, and this. I mean, the fact we're gonna. Well,
In,
everybody's too busy to talk at
in
the
fact,
moment.
Daz,
In the next month, they're all too busy in preseason prep and everything like that.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
so nobody's. So it's actually only a 6-month exercise. That's even worse. So no, I don't think so.
The
I don't think it's
analysis and
enough.
recommendations delivered by Portus will form the basis of an athlete-centered high-performance strategy for the Adran Premier presented by the FAW in the spring of 2026. So actually, the root and branch review will be given to the FAW probably a few months before that, so they can digest it and come up with their own, concise or however many strategy that they can then present in spring 2026. So it might be even less time. That for me
Yeah,
doesn't sound like long enough.
yeah. Watch this space. Announcement delay.
Okay, you heard it here first, everybody. You heard it here first. But as you said, as you rightly said, Daz, we need it. The women's and girls' game in Cymru needs it. It's obvious. I mean, as you said, seeing Cardiff in Europe last week losing 4-0 to an Irish side, the fact that we've rarely progressed or do anything in Europe on the women's side, the fact that women in the Euros, although did brilliantly, were definitely second best to the three big teams that were there. And if we're going to compete at that level, we need to. That all starts at grassroots level. It all starts at the bottom and works our way up, doesn't it?
But don't forget, it's going back to our first point, which is, the system in Wales being alongside England complicates things massively. We lose a lot of our best players to the English system, and so it's a more complex thing. Ireland, I'm sure, lose plenty of players to the UK as well, but I would imagine they hold on to a lot more of their grassroots and more of their teams are, compared to, we only have a few in Wales. They certainly don't have the same backing. They certainly don't have the same sort of support, and they are at risk of being anywhere near good. They'll go into the English system, and then there's no blame. I'm not apportioning blame here. That is just what's happening. So we've got many different battles to fight, and so it's quite the complex problem to solve.
Wrexham AFC have completed the purchase of the Rock Stadium in Rosamedra, thus securing a long-term permanent home for the Wrexham AFC women. The Rock has served as the main training and match venue for Wrexham AFC women since the pre-season of the 23-24 season, as well as being the historical home, of course, of Kevin Druids FC. Following its purchase, the Rock will now become the official home ground and training centre for Wrexham AFC women, while Kevin Druids will continue to have use of the facilities for their training and fixtures. The club will be putting plans in place to improve the current facilities at the Rock and help consolidate Wrexham AFC women's status in the Adran Premier League following their promotion to the highest level of women's football in Cymru as from the 2023-24 season. So it says on the Wrexham AFC website. Jamie, we talked about this. This has been rumours that obviously Mac mentioned it on the documentary that they were trying to buy it. Well, they've finally done that. Obviously, if you look on social media at the moment, lots of Kevin Druid supporters and Supporters Trust in particular are saying, can he sell the ground? Is he allowed to sell the ground legally? Because there's certain things within their constitution, which means he has to get a vote from the board, which he's not done because apparently there's nobody left on the board because he fired them all. And he has to speak to the Supporters Trust, and he's not done that. I mean, again, I'm only going from what's on social media, so I don't know whether any of this is actually true. But could this go bang if Wrexham haven't done their due diligence?
It could, but I would assume that on the back of that statement that the club put out, that it was, not to get all Stevie Wonder, but signed, sealed, and delivered. That seemed to be the suggestion. You would, given the kind of resources that the club have, you would be very, very surprised if they would put a statement out like that if there was any doubt about the possibility of it being completed 100%. I guess never say never. But as far as I was reading into it when that statement was announced, it was we've completed the purchase. So that suggests to me that it's done. That on the basis of that, whether he can or he can't, you would assume he can, and it's this isn't a case of we've agreed a deal. It's the way it was written suggested we've completed the purchase. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal. I think, like you say, the fact that Rob said it and it was put in the documentary was quite a significant thing, and then it all seemed to go very quiet, and I think we were all kind of wondering what was going on. It's great for the women's side of the club that they're going to have a base and a home of their own, a stadium, a ground, a base to train. That's crucial, and again that's important for the likes of Jenny Sugarman and things like that. Having a base camp and somewhere you can call your own is massive. I mean, I think there needs to be some investment in just from a facilities point of view. It needs work, doesn't it? I've not been there for a while, but I know from what people have said it's in need of some TLC.
It's tired. It's definitely tired. And obviously we had some. If you remember, we had some matches cancelled towards the end of last season because of, or moved from the Rock because of the fact that, the Rock wasn't available because there were problems with floodlights, and then there was problems with the pitch flooding. Which, considering it's a 4G pitch, interesting that's happened. So there were a number of things when they.
The pellets on there probably haven't been changed for about 10 years, so that's probably why it got waterlogged. Again, the club will have done all this, like you say, due diligence as part of this deal, wouldn't they? They would have looked at what was needed, realistically, what they need to spend on it, but actually getting it purchased and getting it, not to sound too wanky about it, but in the club portfolio, it was the important bit. For me, the biggest thing about this news was, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we had quite a long conversation about feeling like as if the women's side of things was just being put on the back burner and being pushed down the pecking order. And I think if you look at the last sort of 2 weeks, the appointment of what is on paper a very good appointment as a new manager, and then the announcement of this purchase of the Rock is it's good timing, because I think it's re-energize a little bit of the confidence that they are still serious about bringing on the women's side of things as much as, or as well as the men's, maybe not as much as the men's, but as well as the men's, as they promised to. So yeah, hopefully soon we'll get some announcement on playing personnel for this new season, and we can move forward.
Daz, how important is it that Wrexham do also consider the local clubs who were playing at the Rock before this? So Kevin Druids, Kevin Mauer, all the kind of grassroots clubs that are around there. How important is it that make sure they're included? Because obviously, the fallout with Des kind of stopped Kevin Druids playing, even though I believe now they are kind of just still training and doing bits, but it's been very sticky. Hopefully, with removing Des out of the picture, that now means Wrexham can welcome Kevin Druids back and get them re-established, which would be a good thing.
Yeah, it would be a good thing for a historic club. I mean, we're talking about the oldest club in the Welsh system. If we acknowledge that Wrexham's in the English system, it's got by a legacy. It deserves to be absolutely preserved. I mean, I think obviously your man Des there. We don't know how much. Well, let's put it this way. I think Kevin Druids and Gresford and somebody else all agreed a multi-year deal last year. No, 2 years ago, to play all their games at the ground, and then within a year, it was the agreement was torn up. So I don't know what kind of security he was providing any of those teams. So if this purchase at least allows, and I from what I read as well from it's a condition of sale that football remains there. So in terms of your comparison to your man Hamilton, whatever.
Hamilton, yeah.
he was trying to sell it to move it on, whereas at least there's a condition of sale and that football remains at that site. And so, and I think as part of Wrexham's legacy, to do this and then not support that would be, the optics wouldn't be good. Let's put it that way.
No.
So I think if it helps then to revive a historic team like Chem, that's great. If it does mean other teams getting to play there as well, like your Gresfords and stuff like that, I think that might start getting a bit crowded, shall we say, because the whole point of you having a semi-pro, if not moving to pro team at some point with the women's game, is that the ground, if that's your training ground as well, you'd want first dibs. So it'll be interesting to see how they share, in terms of the match schedules and things like that. I know the men play on a Saturday, the women tend to play on Sundays, so that could be part of that, why they're a better fit than say a Gresford or any other the sort of the Kevin Albions or anything like that in the past. So I think that's good. I still think it's a shame that the women's game isn't played at the Kairas as a default, but then none of the teams in Wales, like even the mighty Cardiff City, for the treble winning, they only played select games at the Cardiff City Stadium. They normally play at Uwick at the Cardiff Met's Sports Centre in King Coyd. So they regularly play elsewhere, and then they get their big sort of TV money opportunities on the big games. And Wrexham are only going to end up doing the same thing at the Kairas. I think there'll still be some opportunities to play there. But if you've got a home, like I say, it's all weather pitch. It means there's less chances of cancellations. The drainage, I hadn't heard about that, which is a bit of a concern considering it's an old quarry. It's on the site of an old quarry, so I don't know what that means. Is it water table? Is it all of that? I'm no geologist, so I'm not going to even venture down that. That again, I'm no footballer, but I do have a go at this. I would say that having at least a place that you call home is important, and forgive me because my knowledge of the northeast is patchy from previous years. Kenmare is not a million miles away, is it? It's how far away from Wrexham in terms of 3
or 4 miles, maybe.
Yeah,
so probably about a 50-minute car journey. It's past Rwabon, so you go out of Wrexham south, past Rwabon, and then you hit it.
So in terms of your identity as well, like if you're a Wrexham fan and you are living Wrexham or Wrexham area, I mean, obviously not everybody who supports Wrexham lives in Wrexham anyway, but your core base needs to be local. And the fact that this is a ground really nearby, really accessible, hopefully that fan base won't, it won't impact that. And it seems not to have done any. It's not been too bad for the last couple of years.
In the past, there have always been really strong ties between Wrexham and Kevin Druids. Always really strong ties. So hopefully, this will help steer that back again, because it would be great for Wrexham, particularly in the on the level they're at now, to be able to touch with the Welsh side of things and the Welsh leagues, and bring Kevin Druids back to the top leagues where absolutely they belong, and maybe some success. So that'd be great. Plus, I'm not surprised Cardiff don't play at the CCS, because it's just a League One ground, isn't it? So
that's true. Yeah.
The newspaper piles are straightened, the beef fat has been unpicked, and all the flies have been cleaned out of the window. Yes, back again for its third season. It's time for the chip shop. Jamie and Daz have put on their whitest, brightest, flattest smocks, with only a little bit of gravy stained down the front where Jamie's concerned. And obviously, first up into the chip shop tonight, it's Southampton. Wrexham kick off their 2025-26 Championship campaign with an away trip to Southampton, where they play at St Mary's on Saturday the 9th of August, kick off 12:30 p.m. BST, which means they'll be live on Sky Sports in the UK. Southampton have pretty much been in the Premier League since its inception, right until 2005, when they got relegated to the Championship. They were in the Championship for a few years until they got back into the Premiership in 2012, until 2023, when they get relegated again to the Championship. 2024, they managed to get straight into the playoffs by the end of the season and beat Leeds United to get back to the Premier League in the first time of asking. Back in the Premier League last season, they finished completely bottom with 2 wins, 6 draws and 30 losses, a goal difference of -60 and 12 points, making them the earliest team to get relegated from the Premier League in Premier League history. Their manager was fired towards the end of the season, and Will Still is the manager, having been appointed in May. So far this off-season, they've made 2 serious signings, Damien Downs from FC Cologne for €8 million and Joshua Kwasi from Hoffenheim for €3.5 million. And the chips are done. So, gentlemen, here we are, back in the Championship after 40-plus years of being away. Terrifying prospect to meet somebody, even though when you listen to those figures I read out, as you said in our outtake, Daz, what a crap team Southampton obviously are, as if, because you look at their squad, it is a scary, scary squad. Jamie, let's come to you first. Obviously, we said it earlier, Wrexham haven't had a lot of time with these 8 new players. We'll do in a bit what we think the starting 11 is going to be and what we would like to see. But what kind of a game are you expecting as compared, let's say, to last season when we're in League One?
Parky out. Just getting that in early. Before we say anything about this game, do we not need to agree on what your team name is going to be for this season?
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to, yeah.
I have to be honest, I totally forgot about it, and I'm still working on a forfeit, but we do need to pick your team name. So I've asked ChatGPT, and I have to be honest with you.
Goes well after what Daz said the other week, so this will go well.
Maybe
forever, it'll probably say.
Maybe it's my prompts, but some of these that it's given me back, I'm not even going to be able to say because Jimmy Savile, Jeffrey Epstein, we probably better steer clear of them. So yeah.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Daz, while I answer his question, are you able to have a quick look to see if you can come across any? Because you're very good at these sorts of things. See if you can find any. The ones I've come up with are a bit.
Daz did send me his from last week. His team name this year is Worst Case Scenario, which I think is very, very good.
That is very good, yeah. That is
very good. Yeah, very good, Daz. Nice
but
one.
Anyway, we'll come back to that in a minute. Let Daz see if he can find anything.
While Daz looks up his friend Co-Pilot, Jamie, you can answer the question.
Yes. So, what kind of game am I expected? Not a fucking clue.
On that note, then
look, we've spoke about it briefly already, haven't we? There's so much unknown to Wrexham going into this Championship season. The opposition we're playing is a complete other level. Not just on Saturday, but week in, week out, we've had this conversation about how daunting this league is and the quality of opposition. I think, to be fair to Wrexham, certainly the last couple of weeks, my kind of level of expectation has gone from I will just be happy to survive, which is still where I am, to when you look at the caliber of the squad that he's building, you think to yourself, this should comfortably be enough to stay in the Championship, could have an outside push at playoffs. But it's just impossible to say, isn't it? I think one thing that you can say with certainty is I don't think Parky is going to drastically change the way he plays. Yes, there might be a slight variation on it, but I still fully expect it to be that 3-5-2 of some description. But
3-5-2 or 3-5-1-1?
Yeah, same. Yes, 2 different formations, and you're right. But I think fundamentally the same thing. He will play. The key bit is it's going to be the 3 at the back and the 5 across the midfield. That won't change. What he does up top, you're right. It might be Kiefer Moore with a Josh Windass off him or something like that. Who knows? But I think the style. I think he will build on, or he will look to build on, and go into this season like he did last season, which is basically try and be defensively solid. But hopefully we've brought in enough quality this year that we can score more goals, because obviously that was what we struggled with last year, was actually scoring the goals. We defensively we were good, so if he can carry on that model, I think it's probably a good time to just sort of say that I think we need to probably just put out a little reminder to people listening or watching. Please bear in mind this is a completely different level. You know, if you are, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to be rude and say a newer fan, but if you are a newer fan and have only been following the club in the last sort of 4 or 5 years and therefore don't know any different other than winning and success, or if you are a top red who has been following the club for many, many years, been home and away, has got every kit permutation from the last 25 years, and you are truly the toppest of top reds. Even some of those people, don't lose your heads if we have a run of games where we're not winning games. It's not going our way. We have to, as a fan base, we are a massive fan base now, and we've got our part to play in it as well. We've got to make sure that we stay on side with these guys. Yes, by all means, if we play shit, have an opinion on it. If a player plays shit, have an opinion on it. But let's not go nuclear on social media if we lose one game, because some of what we've seen recently is just crazy. And I think the players are going to need us more than ever in this season. I think they're going to need us more than ever to stick with them and to support them. So
completely agree.
With regards to this game specifically, honestly, mate, I honestly don't know what to expect because it's such an unknown. You can't judge Southampton from this year, because they were dog poo last year.
Yep,
but they were in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
No, they've come down. They've kept the nucleus of the same squad, so you're going to assume it's a good Championship squad. Mm-hmm. I really like the manager. I've said it before. If you have ever listened to him or watched him, he's been on Monday Night Football a couple of times, and I swear to God, the way he tactically breaks down passages of play is absolutely eye-opening and fascinating to listen to. So I think he's a great signing for them to get him in as a manager. But obviously, it's a full house. They've already come out and said, haven't they? They've sold all the season tickets. They sold all the allocation for this game. It's a full house. They're going to be raring to go because, like Dad says, they're one of the favourites for the league, so they're going to be right up for it. Absolutely. I don't care what anybody says. We are now a small fish in a big pond in this league, but because of the Hollywood, the Disney, who our owners are, there will still be a target on our back. Even the biggest clubs will still want to do one over on us because it's Wrexham and put that in your documentary.
They won't want to get embarrassed. They won't want to get embarrassed, will they? Because they won't want to be beaten by a team who were in the National League 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago. Exactly. They won't want that. That's embarrassing for them.
Yeah, they won't want that. And like I say, there's also this thing of because Wrexham is such because the club is in such a public eye and a public forum, everything they do is publicised around the world. I think for that reason as well, there still will be a target on our back. Even the likes of Ipswich and Birmingham and Southampton, Leicester's, they will still want to beat us home and away because we're Wrexham and because they'll want to say that they've beaten us.
Put us in our place.
But I think to go back full circle and sort of answer what I think this game will be. I think Parky will go into this game. He will set the team up very defensively. His brief, I think, when he goes into this game to the players will be, don't concede, stay in the game and try and basically nick a goal. I think he will be looking to steal like a 1-0 win or something along those lines. That's why I expect. I certainly don't expect it to be a gun-ho charge straight from the kickoff. Not away from home, not the first game in the Championship, and not against Southampton. But beyond that, I couldn't tell you what to expect because I don't think anyone knows what to expect.
Daz, what's Terminator come up with for a team name? Has they come up with anything?
Well, I mean, there's a few where I would go. In a private group, maybe would be acceptable.
Well, just on them lines, right? Can I just read this warning that ChatGPT gave me? Right, it said, to one of the requests I gave it gave me some, and don't get me wrong, some of them I think are funny, but I'm not going to say them. If you use these on a public app or league, you will get reported, possibly arrested, maybe disowned. So you can only imagine what sort of ones I'm looking at.
Yeah, that definitely don't one of those.
And in the advice of one of the searches I just did, it did say, inappropriate names is not acceptable in any circumstance. And I was thinking, like, yeah, but you don't know the full extent and there's context here. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There was a couple of sort of like, I don't know, 50 Shades of Andy Gray and things like that, which are all a bit, I don't know if that is that allowed anymore. I'm not sure. How cancelled are these people? I don't know. I've sent you some, Jamie, to have a quick look, but there was a couple of others that I probably there's some great. I mean, when you start looking into it, there's some great names like Zeko and the Bunnymen and a Game of Throw-ins. But sorry.
I'm just reading the ones you sent me. Gangsters Allardyce is gold. That's brilliant.
I do like that one, and I also thought, well, with in context with what our podcast is called, I thought "Who Ate All the Pies" is quite a good one as well.
Yeah.
But my favourite is the first one, but I'm not sure if I should read it out. But
you go for it. You go for it. It's not as dark as some of mine.
Well, no, it's not dark. I mean, it just depends how you pronounce it, really, because there is a footballer called Fuchs, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is. Yes, there is.
And so there's also a footballer called Pope, and there's also a footballer called Jesus. So if you wanted to name these three footballers, it's Pope, Fuchs, Jesus. And and I felt like that one would be quite a good one because you'd have to read this out most weeks, and you'd have to be very careful.
Yes.
As an atheist, I've got no skin in this game, but there are others who. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if any of those are winners.
Yeah, I vote for Pope Fuchs Jesus.
There we go.
Okay, now you've heard it here first. This year, I will be playing under the banner of Pope Fuchs Jesus, and good luck to them for this season. Daz, going back to this, are you okay? You've got a funny colour.
Yeah. I'm quite pleased with that.
Going back to the Southampton Wrexham game, how important is it that Wrexham don't embarrass themselves, i.e., get hammered 4-5-0, for example?
5-0. That's a very specific hammering. So 6-0's okay, 4-0's okay,
but not 5-0. Absolutely not. You draw the line. At an odd number right in the middle of a decimal.
Yeah. No, I think no, of course, then nobody wants to go into their first game of the season and embarrass themselves. Everybody wants to at least show that they've got some, they belong in the league, belong in that particular division, belong amongst their that peer group and want to compete. And I think as long as you get a decent performance, I think like Jimmy said, you want to stay in touch, you want to try, but I think Southampton are a much better team than last year suggests. I mean, obviously there was turmoil off the pitch with various managing decisions and sticking to tactics that they wouldn't move from, but actually, under new management, and this Will Still guy is supposed to be, some sort of wonder kid, really, isn't it, in terms of his performances elsewhere? So I think if you can stay in contention, stay within in the game enough, but I just feel like a decent performance at this stage against the one team where you're actually not expected. This is the banker as far as if you were to look at which teams do you think are likely to do well. Well, Southampton, we've all had predicted at the top of the table, and it's at home, Southampton's home, as in St Mary's. So this is the game you're expected to lose. So you've got nothing to lose. You've got nothing to lose in that situation. If you were going to predict them, rank them, this is probably number one or number two from the end in terms of the ones you're going to lose. So let's just see a good performance. Let's see how the players play together. Is there some sort of tactical practice that you can do against a really strong side? Of course, but if it ends up being a drubbing, I don't know if it's a bad thing. Well, you can just sign it off to going, it's the first game of the season. The problem you have being Hollywood FC is that every bit of press is going to get on the back of you going, see, back to back to back, and now you're in the big time, and suddenly you don't cut it. And that's not going to be true. That's not going to be a genuine measure of the success of this team. So it's, can the fan base then ignore those comments, knowing that it's just bait and it's just gold for the tabloids? So that's what I would fear more than anything, is the result would generate that, not because it was a bad result.
So let's stick our finger in the air and try and guess what the starting 11 is going to be. I'll ask the pair of you on certain positions and whatever. I mean, but think of it from the point of view of who do you think Parky's going to put, not who you would put. Who do you think Parky's going to put? Let's start in goal. Arthur Okonkwo, number one, or experience in the Championship, Danny Ward? Jamie?
There's a lot. I can understand the thought process behind some people saying start with Danny Ward, but like we said before, I just think I think it would do Arthur no good at all if you dropped him. So for me, he has to start the season as our number one and starts against Southampton in my book.
Daz, would you put Ward in?
I'd go Callum Burton and then throw everybody off the scent.
That certainly would throw everybody off the scent.
I agree with Jamie. It's probably the correct move is Okonkwo in certain ways, but obviously I think Danny Ward's a great keeper, so neither is technically incorrect.
I wouldn't be, don't get me wrong, if Danny Ward was on the team sheet and starting, I wouldn't be overly bothered about it. Absolutely not. I think I'd feel for Arthur in that instance.
Back three then. Do you think Parky, Jamie, is going to go for tried and trusted and do Cleworth, O'Connell and Brunt, or O'Connor on the side? Or is he going to get O'Connor Cody and just stick him straight in there, even though he's been in the club less than 2 weeks? I mean, what risk factor do you think will you put in there? Because if you look at the last few seasons, first match of the seasons, Parky has had a tendency to go with what he knows, go with established players, even if he has new players to pop into those positions. So what do you think he's going to do versus Southampton? But
the huge difference this time is, unlike the last few seasons where during the transfer window it's been a minor touch up to the squad, 2 or 3 players adding on to what we already had. This is like full on this is like full on bloody Hollywood style, facial reconstruction. This is what we've had this year. This is night and day. So I don't think you will necessarily see the same approach this season where he starts the season with the ones that finished last season, because I just think if he goes down that route, whilst you would tip your hat to the kind of the loyalty to those players, I just think that's going to bite us in the balls, because I think sadly a lot of our squad from last year are not of this caliber, is my honest opinion. To answer your question about the back three, yes, I think he'll put Connor Cody straight in. I think you are bringing, yes, okay, he's not had a lot of time to play with the players that he's going to be playing with, but obviously he had that one game, the behind closed door game, and he will have had a full week on the training pitch. To me, you don't bring in a player of that kind of level of experience in that position and ease him in gently. It won't daunt him. He'll be more than used to playing in front of far more hostile crowds than you're going to get at St Mary's. So I fully expect to see Connor Cody in the centre. I think Max will start on the right. I think the left's an interesting one. I would like to see Brunt play, because for me that is the back three I would like to see basically start and continue until we need to change it, which is Connor Cody, Brunt on the left and Max on the right. That's what I'd like to see. I'm just, if any of those 3 positions are got a question mark over him. For me, it's probably that left side. It's whether he'll, will he put a Dan Scar or O'Connell on that left side just to give an extra little bit of experience and a little bit more kind of grit, if you like. That would be my only question.
I mean, Daz, if he puts Connor Cody in the middle, has played at this level. If he puts Lewis Brunt on the left, he's played at this level. Max Cleworth hasn't. He's come up from the National League, never played at this level. Is that a risk? Did you think Parky's going to take, or would he put O'Connell, or Scar in that position just to try and make it a bit more solid?
Yeah, well, you're talking about making it more solid, but from my observations, he's been one of your best players. If I don't think it feels like that much of a risk. So Cleworth absolutely, I think, has earned his place there because he helped get you over the line for sure.
It's spot on. He's been our most consistent and best performing central defender for certainly last season and probably the season before. So 100%, regardless of the fact he's not played at this level before, he absolutely deserves his place in the start.
Well, let's put it this way: I was going to say, if you hadn't got promoted, he probably would be playing at this level this year because I wonder if a big money price offer would have come in for him anyway.
Yeah.
And would you put Cody in on Saturday? Do you think Parky will put Cody in on Saturday?
I think he is such a class act. Yes, communication is very important, and maybe if he does put him in, there is an argument that maybe he'll put Danny Ward in goal because they played together at Leicester, they played together at youth Liverpool back in the day as well. So they've known each other for literally a couple of decades. So you could have some of that communication instantly there, but I don't know if that's worth it for the communication across the three, across the back. But he's a class act. He's experienced. You want somebody who's played in the World Cup in your back three. Yes, please.
So let's go to the wings then. So obviously left wing, you've got the choice of McLean or Kakache. On the right wing, obviously you've got Barney or you've got Longman. You've obviously got Seb Revan and Jacob Mendy. Revan could play on either side. Jacob Mendy could play on either side, but he's more left wing. Jamie, who do you think he's going to go with? Is he going to go with experience, or is he going to try and go with the new toys?
I think this is one where this is a position where I think he will stick with what he knows. In that McLean, I think he will start with against Southampton. I think a couple of reasons for that. One is his experience. Two, he's the club captain. And three is that he, unlike some of the other players who you would question, can they perform at this level? McLean is proven at this level. Granted, it was a few years ago, but I think he is still capable of playing at this level. I don't think he's necessarily capable of doing week in, week out for a full season, hence why we've brought Kakache in. And I think what I expect to happen as we go through this season is there'll be a kind of passing of the torch where I think at some point Kakache will come in from McLean and McLean will become more of a substitute player. But for the start of the season, and certainly for the Southampton game, I expect him to start with McLean. And then on the other side, I think Longman, as much as I love Barney, and I think he's done phenomenally since he joined us, and he has progressed through the leagues. He obviously started last season on fire, but then tailed off in the second half of the season. But I think Longman, for me, again, came to us from Hull, who were an established championship club. And I think he is just, for me, is a better, he's just slightly better all-round player than Barney is currently. And again, he looked good in pre-season. Some of the appearances or some of the minutes we saw from him in pre-season, I thought he actually looked really good. So yeah, I would expect Longman to start on the right.
Agree with that, Daz? Go with experience rather than you.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the game. The friendlies so far, so I haven't seen them in form. But for me, they're fairly interchangeable in that sense. So I don't think either's a risk. But I think, like Jamie said, Longman's got just a few more boxes ticked. So it's probably worth it on overall.
Middle of the park, then you've got Evans, Dobson, James. You've got O'Brien. You've got Thomason. You've got Lee. 6 players, 3 positions, and we're not even talking about the players who are currently injured. I mean, Jamie, where do you think he's going to go? Is he going to go with, let's shore up and again put in 3 people in the middle that we know, like, for example, you could play James, you could play Dobson, and you could play Lee, or you could play, with that kind of a bit of an attacking midfielder? Or is he going to include some of the new players in there instead?
Yeah, I think this is now where it starts to get really difficult to predict. My gut feeling, what I think he will do in the middle is I think he will play, or he will start with O'Brien, James, and Dobson. Are the 3 I think he will pick, and I think he will play with like a double pivot. I think he'll have Dobson and James holding. He'll have O'Brien slightly ahead of them, and then I think, I know you're going to ask in a second, but I think then up top it will be a 1-on-1. I think that's what I think he will go with. Again, away from home, first game in the Championship, first game of the season. I think his mindset will be don't concede, and I think he will think his best way of doing that is by having 2 holding midfielders. Whilst I think both Matty James and Dobson absolutely will have and should have places in the squad for this season. But it also doesn't surprise me that there's still rumours of us looking at bringing in another defensive midfielder, because I think, question mark over Dobson. He's never played at this level.
Nope.
So question mark over whether he can do it at this level. So that's one concern. And then with Matty James, as fantastic of as a footballer as he still is, and we've seen firsthand how good of a footballer he still is. The reality is he's getting on in his career now. He hasn't got the legs and the engine to be getting around like he once did. And I just think I can't see us relying on him week in, week out for a Championship season. So yeah, that's what I think he will do. I think he'll go with Dobson, Matty James, and Lewis O'Brien.
I mean, looking at that forward setup, Daz, now when you look at the forwards, you've got Hardy, you've got Smith, you've got Kiefer Moore, and you've got Josh Windass. Would you maybe think about pulling Windass into midfield to give you some space to maybe put a couple of dedicated forwards up there? Or do you think Windass is that important player? Because as you say, Kiefer is that number 10. He's the player he's the big, tall player that Parky likes to play off. So then that limits then who you can put up front with him, and maybe Windass isn't the person. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you're talking about Parky's preferences, it's the big man. Yeah, of course. But you've got so many good runners. You've got so many good attacking players. Whether it's, you say Sam Smith played some minutes in the friendly as well, didn't you?
Yeah,
he did. Yeah,
he did.
Played 60 minutes.
But that was his first minutes of pre-season, so I think I can't see him being a starter for the season.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends whether or not he thinks it's too soon for some of the players as well. The new, whether or not they've got those minutes, or whether or not even like the adding of Kiefer Moore or new signings, literally one game or half a game or whatever, still might not be enough. So, does he just go with some familiarity? Whether it's, I mean, nobody's mentioned Ollie Rathbone at this stage either.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, he'll probably go with Liam Palmer up front. Ollie Rathbone's injured. He's injured.
He's out of the boot, but they're not sure whether he's what's going on. I mean, we saw Hardy and Windass on Saturday, and they didn't knock it out of the park, did they? Let's be honest.
No, they didn't. But again, I think for this game, I think the attack option he'll go with. I think he'll go with Keith. I think he'll put Keith Moore straight in, because again, if you are going to play defensively and you are going to be expecting to be without the ball for long periods of the game, which we do generally anyway, but we will be expecting in this game, when we have it, he'll want to lump it forward. So I think Kiefer Moore will play as the target man, and I think he'll play Josh Windass off him. That's what I think he'll start with on Saturday. So Hardy, Smith. Hardy, I'm guessing, will be on the bench. Smith presumably will be on the bench if he's fit enough to be included at all. And that's that's what I think he'll go with.
No, that's fair enough.
Yep. So for the first time this season, time for the salt, vinegar and sauce score. Jamie, what's your score predictions for Southampton versus Wrexham?
5-0 Wrexham. No, I'm joking. I'm going to... I'm going to go for a defeat. I think we will lose, but I've got ultimately we've got nothing to base this off. We've got nothing to base this off because we've no idea what we're going to play like as a team because we've not seen our team. So I think given it's away from home, first one in the Championship against opposition that came down from the Premier League, a very, very good team, very good set of players. I think we will lose, but I don't think we will get a hammer in or a hide in. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 defeat.
Daz, what's your score prediction for Southampton versus Wrexham?
If you say 1-0, I'm going to scream.
Can I use that on the next one? I haven't decided yet. I've got two. Okay. No. Same rationale. So just rewind, listen to Jamie again, and then on top of that, I will add 3-1 as my result.
And I'm predicting Southampton 3, Wrexham 1. I think it's all too soon. Wrexham are not ready. The new players aren't bedded in. The old players are trying to play with the new players. As you said, we're not sure what Parky's going to do. So the players are trying to learn what Parky's going to do. You're going to come up against a team who, less than 4 months ago were playing Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea,
But just as a little asterisk, as much as I'm saying that's what I'm going with, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, not in the slightest, if this time next week we're having a conversation and we've won. Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, then say that for the predictions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put your money where your mouth is, you coward.
Say it.
No. I'm trying to be sensible, or certainly starting the season sensibly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we can do it. But it will be the first game of over 40 games. And I think the squad, though, will get better as time goes on, definitely. As they start to bed in, the players that are there are going to pick the level up and we're going to get better. But I think we're going to be in trouble for the first. I think August is going to have to be a write-off a bit because I really think we're going to struggle. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next into the fryer, it's the Carabou Cup, round 1, and it's Hull City. Hull City, it'll finish last season in the Championship 21st, won 12, drawn 13, lost 21, goal difference of -10 and 49 points. In the pre-season so far, they've lost 2-0 to Lincoln City. They won 1-0 versus Grimsby Town, won 2-1 versus Istanbulspor, wherever they are, won 1-0 versus Kasimpaşa, won 1-0 versus Stockport County, and won 2-1 versus Sunderland and drew 0-0 versus Getafe. Last season in the League Cup, they actually were knocked out in the first round versus, ironically, Sheffield Wednesday 2-1. They have made 8 signings so far, 4 free transfers, 2 loan transfers. The most expensive, Gustavo Puerta from Bayer Leverkusen for €3.5 million. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, first game back at the Stoke Kairos. I won't be there on Tuesday. My mate Andy is going to sit in my seat, bless him, and he's just had a new shirt for his anniversary. So, looking swish in your Wrexham shirt there, Andy. You'll be there, won't you?
I will be there. I'm a top red, so I'll be there.
Yeah. I'm obviously a rubbish.
You're a flop red. Yeah, only go on a Saturday.
It's a cup game. It's against a team that we will potentially be vying mid-table positions for. Is this a kind of a free roll for us and we can just kick the tyres and not worry about it?
I don't think we need to worry about it because it's not a competition that realistically we're going to get anywhere near winning. But I would say I think it would be good for us to try and stay in it for a couple of rounds at least, because obviously it's the only, other than the league, it's the only real competitive competition we've got access to until the FA Cup comes in that will allow us to play one of these 764 players that we've got. So The thing is that whatever team he puts out on Saturday against Southampton that we've just been talking about, I know that come Tuesday night, it'll still be a.
Just start that again because we lost you for a second.
Whatever team he puts out on Tuesday night against Hull, regardless of what he does against Southampton, it'll be a very different team. It'll probably be a completely different team. But because of the depth of squad we've got, I would still expect a very strong lineup, which is why I'm excited to see the game. Because whatever team he puts out should still be quality. Probably will be some of the new names because they're not all going to play on Saturday. So yeah, I think he will be taking it very seriously. I think he will obviously want to win. It's technically the first home game of the season, although it's obviously not a league game. It's the first home game of the season. I hope that it sells out. It's been some quite odd this week with the amount of tickets that were still available, even up till yesterday. Obviously, these are on general sale now. They're £10, £5 a ticket.
Where are you sitting?
Tech End Massive.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, only because I'm basically I've taken obviously the wife as well, but the two kids who are thrilled about it, taking them as well.
I bet they're not.
Yeah, they're not massively, but yeah. But they're tough. But
those ticket prices are cheaper than a babysitter, so hey,
exactly. My daughter's already said to me she's not sitting next to me, and I said, "Why not?" Because you shout. I was like, "Well, yeah, but you've got to shout." So yeah, but I hope it sells out because obviously that we've had
they're teenagers. They'll just be sitting there on their phones like that all the way through.
I know, yeah, but we've had conversations in recent weeks about all the ticket scenario and ballots and all this jazz. Yeah, there's an opportunity here. Okay, I know it's a Tuesday night, but it's not school time. It's half term. You've got an opportunity to get and see Wrexham play, a very good Wrexham team. It's hard to say it won't be first team because we don't know what the first team is. It's going to be it'll be a very good Wrexham team play in a game for not a lot of money. A lot of people were complaining about not being able to access tickets this season. Well, there's a great opportunity here. So I know a lot of people don't have ill feelings towards this competition and it's a bit of a nothing one and everything else, but it's still going to be a competitive game. So I'm a bit shocked really that it's not sold out already. So I hope it does sell out just for the lads more than anything else. It's going to be hard enough at the Kairos this season with only 3 sides. So I think it's important that every time they cross that line in any game this season, that the 3 sides are packed out and get behind them. So yeah.
And your first chance to get to see the new pitch and the dugout on the opposite side and everything's going. I think it's going to be quite an exciting night.
That's going to be so weird. That is seeing the dugout on the opposite side. I saw
Absolutely. I tried everything to come up on Tuesday, but I cannot make it work. So Andy is going in my stead, which is great. I mean, Daz. Jamie touched on it there. How do you think it's more vital that Parky takes the 11 that starts on Saturday and gives them another game to give them minutes to try and get them to gel together? Or is it better to rest them and use the squad so that when they come to the league game the Saturday after, that potential starting 11 is fresher?
I'd imagine he still, like Jamie said, doesn't know what his first 11 is, so he's going to want as many players to have played within those 2 games. I think not at the risk of sounding like it's the same 2 lineups as your where were they playing? Groningen.
FC Groningen.
So where you have those 2 teams and completely different. I can't imagine that, but I would imagine that there's options that he's still probably thinking. I'd like to see those again, see those partnerships, see those combinations. I would imagine that he would make the most of that situation because, not to say that he's not going to think of this as an important cup. I think they say he'll always want to win, but I think surviving this league is the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate goal. And if this cup helps him to learn a bit more, then maybe. But and I get your point. If he plays the same team or a similar team 2 weeks in a row, then they're getting to know each other better, which means that they're better drills, ready for their second game in the league. But I just think, like you said, with so many changes, I just don't know if he's absolutely sure. I don't know how he could be sure. Of course, that's what training's for, and he'll see them up close. But it's a really hard one to predict. You're playing a team that are established. They're in that league for a reason. They've got a lot of signings themselves, so they've got the same predicament as well. So it's going to be, like I say, nigh on impossible with no form indicators. As we hate the second games of these predictors anyway, as we've always said. But when you've got no idea of what the first, of even any form of the team, and it's the second game, pass. I have no idea. I am literally basing this. For me, it's going to be home advantage in a pretty even pitch team in terms of division position wise. So and I didn't even look to see who Hull were playing in their first game of the season. Did you just say no?
No, I don't know, to be honest.
I'll tell you. They are playing Coventry City at Coventry. So they're
going to get beaten then. They'll get beaten.
Probably. So they're playing a strong team from their division. You're playing one of the strongest teams from your division. So neither of you will be going in with a huge amount of confidence, potentially, of in terms of result confidence. But I also think neither team are going to expect to win those games. So it's about being able to hold that mindset, be strong, and then just go in and go, right, fresh start. Here we go. Bring on Hull.
So, time for the salt, vinegar and sauce core. Daz, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Hull City?
Like I say, I've hinted that it could be a 1-0. I don't think there'll be many goals, but I do fancy both teams to score. So on that basis, I have gone for 2-1 Wrexham win because they're playing at home.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Hull City?
2-0 Wrexham win. I don't think Hull will score.
And I'm predicting Wrexham 1, Hull City 2. I think Wrexham are going to struggle, and they're going to continue to struggle, even with changing the squad around. So many players are so uncertain of what's happening. So many players have not played at this level or have not played at this level for a while. Hull City are an established team. That is absolutely right. And even with 8 changes, they've been in this division for a long time. They know this tune. They know this dance. I think they will pip it. I think we'll fight hard. I just think we Wrexham as a team has lived a lot on luck over the last few seasons, and I think this is where our luck starts to run out because I just think it's going to be a bit of a step too far.
Is this some reverse psychology type shit where you're saying one thing but you actually think it's going to be something else? So you're hoping that it's going to be the opposite.
Couldn't possibly say.
It's based on his entire track record of last year that whatever he said was wrong. So if he says it, they're different to what he
exactly
thinks. What was your prediction again? Sorry.
Wrexham 1, Hull City 2.
Okay.
So basically, one of us is going to be right. Because you've predicted you've both predicted a win. So So I could start off the season with 0 points. Anyway, that's my prediction.
Well, I changed the habit of a lifetime.
What was it again? Pope, semicolon. Fuchs, semicolon. Jesus.
No, just 3 words.
No, because if you put the semicolons in between, then you can't put it into a sentence.
No semis and no colons when you're talking about this football team.
I see. So when you're talking about sex within religion, no semis?
Yeah. And definitely no colons.
And no colons. Definitely no colons. Okay, fine. Good.
Whatever you do, make sure you get the correct spelling of Fuchs, yeah?
Yeah, okay. I'll look that up. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And we'll be reviewing these 2 games in next week's pod. I will be at Southampton on Saturday with the flag. Jamie will be at the Kairos on Tuesday. First predictions over. Season ready to start. We're all under starters orders and we're away. Thanks very much for watching. Please do comment if you like anything we've said, or send us an email if you want to ask us a question. Next week, we'll be looking back at the opening week, including the return of, and I'm going to say this carefully so Jamie gets it, the away day footy scran review as it is now. So stop Jamie moaning about the... Ironically, because I'm going to Southampton, I'm probably going to have fish and chips. So
I was going to say that'll mean you're going to be having fish and chips then, because that's exactly the sort of thing you do.
Probably going to ruin that. But it will be called the away day footy scran review, so the return of that. And then obviously we'll be looking at the whole result as well, and then previewing the first home game of the season in the league versus West Brom. As I said, please let us know on the usual social media channels of any comments or anything you want us messages about. That'd be great to hear from you. Ever present like a pair of excited puppies are my two co-hosts, and if they do that again on the carpet, I will rub their noses in it. So thank you, Des.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you, Jamie.
Come on, the town.
I've been Welsh Techie. See you all next week. See you at St Mary's. Jamie will see you at the Spoke Kairas. I'm so excited I could crush a grape, as Stu Francis used to say.
You're going to wrestle an action man next.
So until next week, come on, Cymru. And as Jamie rightly says, come on, the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy has 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast!